Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Salutations to the great master of Kashmir Shaivism, Abhinava Gupta. This talk is dedicated to Abhinava Gupta of 9th century, who gave a complete structure to Kashmir Shaivism. So let me begin with thanking all the organizers to give me this first opportunity. It's a maiden speech I'm doing about spirituality. So I'm quite excited to share what I have learned. It is more a Sikaya Vagnan than actual fully realized practice, but I think it should be shared in order that many more people can actually look into this aspect of Kashmir Shaivism. Basically, Kashmir Shaivism is a non-dual school, just like our Advaita Vedanta. There are two non-dual schools. One is Advaita Vedanta, another is Kashmir Shaivism. Though both believe that there is only one supreme consciousness, andre onde ondu Vishwa Prajna ide anta nambudrunu, they somehow have different approaches. And it is very interesting to know both approaches. And then I will dwell upon more details of Kashmir Shaivism. The basic understanding is what is the relation between Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara is all that we need to look at. Jiva and Ishvara are one in non-dualism. So the definition of non-dualism is Jiva and Ishvara are one. That means you are Brahman according to Advaita Vedanta. You are Shiva according to Shiva consciousness. According to Kashmir Shaivism. Basically, both are monistic schools of thought, both are non-dual in nature. Now, what is it that one tries to do when you know you are Brahman is to make this individual consciousness, Namma individual prajna idiyala, a prajna we want to take it to supreme consciousness, that is Vishwa Prajna. Adu nanu onde nondu arivu bandaga, that is what is going to be us with being with God consciousness. God consciousness is either Brahman or Shiva, it doesn't matter, it is supreme consciousness. First of all, you have to understand what is consciousness. In order to understand, prajna andre enu anta artha agಬೇಕು first. Prajna andre, ಈಗ ಒಂದು Google car ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಈಗ, driverless car has been made. This driverless car is passing next to you in a signal and stops. Your car also you are driving and it stops. What is the difference? There is no driver in the car. It is driven by AI and IoT sensors. But your car, you are the driver. The difference between that car and this car is, here the driver has a first person consciousness. He is aware of his surroundings. He is aware of the color. He is aware of his car seat. He is aware of everything. That awareness of self-existence is consciousness. So that is called first person consciousness. This first person consciousness is easy to explain for you to know what is prajna. So the prajna is that part of your awareness in which the Google car, which is driven without anybody, which runs better than you, which is controlled better than you, but you are a better driver because your first person consciousness is added to that. That is how the first consciousness is decided. So it is being, it is a being, it is self-existing, and it is awareness. That is the present definition I am giving from Advaita. I am going to go to Kashmir Shaivism and give you a different definition of prajna. Now, if you see what exactly did Advaita do, I am getting into the first approach of Advaita. It said Tat Tvamasi. That means you are that, you are Brahman. That is one declaration. Then it said, what is Brahman? It said Satyam Gnanam Anantam Brahma. So it said Satya Gnana Anantam Brahma. So then what happens? So you become Satchitananda. Sat is infinite existence. Chit is infinite consciousness. Ananda is infinite bliss. So you realize you are nothing but that, and Tattvamasi, that realization is what is the Jiva and Ishvara combination. Now, in this very important thing is what happens to Jagat. Jagat is what you see in every day. You are meeting people, you are having samsara, you are having objects, you have got multiplicity, you have emotions, you have body, all that is going on. So what is this Jagat? What is this samsara? The Advaita Vedanta says this is nothing but avidya and maya. Avidya is ignorance, maya is illusion. So if you think avidya and maya are overcome at an outside level, bahya worldly, if you overcome that, then you are nearing Brahman. So how do you overcome avidya and maya? They give a lot of examples. For example, you find a snake on the road. Actually, it's the rope. When you realize it is a rope, illusion is gone. Similarly, mark my words very carefully. Similarly, the samsara is an illusion of Brahman only. There is nothing other than Brahman. So you have to negate this part of unreality of illusion and avidya in order to see the Brahman. So once you see everything else is not Brahman and you come to the attributes of Brahman, which is Satyam, Gnanam, Anantam Brahman, you reach slowly in the outside world near to Brahman. That means, there is a lot of discussion on this. We are talking of deep Vedanta, where it says that the appearances are all actually like waves, which appear in the consciousness. Consciousness is real. So what appears is also real in the sense that it's a part of consciousness, but it is not real as you think the samsara is. So therefore, samsara is maya. That is the kind of explanation Advaita Vedanta gives. So what is their method? So their method is, one is to negate neti until you reach the realization of Brahman. So they go on doing neti. Neti means, no, this is not Brahman, and that way. Now they also give a lot of prescription for inward journey. They say you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the intellect, you are not the perception, you are not the feeling, you are not the thought. And very importantly, how to understand this? You sleep, you dream, and you are in waking state. In all these states, who is awake? Who tells you when you get up, I slept very well? Who tells you what dream you had? In your waking states, though you are not aware, there is somebody watching you. This particular concept is called witness consciousness. That is Sakshi Prajna. So you have touched the Sakshi Prajna, provided you have negated through meditation or through Upanishads or through insights. If you negate body, if you negate mind and intellect, so you treat yourself, individual self, as separate to the body, mind, intellect, and separate to this, the perception, feeling, thought, and all the multiplicity. If you separate from that and if you travel inside the individual self, the individual prajna, you will see uncorrupt Brahman himself. So you reach the Sakshi Bhava, and once you reach the Sakshi Bhava, which is called Turiya state, from the Turiya state, you can then realize that you are one with Brahman. And for that, there is a lot of things you must have all known. J. Krishnamurti said observer is observed. That means if observer and observed become one, then you are merging. How is observer and observed become one? There is no subject and object. Drop it. Same way, if you drop, Buddha said, in observer and observed is okay. But can you see observing itself? Only observing. So you go into observing and go to Shunya. So the Advaita philosophy is happening like this, that you basically go deep and realize Brahman. And so that is a very interesting. Ramana Maharshi said, ask who am I? Nani yaru? Not Nani yaru is important. Who is asking Nani yaru is important. So you have to go deep into finding out who am I. If you are going inside you and finding out who is asking this question, who am I, then the realization of Sakshi Prajna starts happening. This Sakshi Prajna can also happen in Advaita Vedanta itself due to other methods also. There are also a lot of meditative techniques and all that has come into Advaita now, which basically drives you to realize Brahman. So this is an overall introduction of Advaita, because Advaita is very important for you to understand in order to move to Kashmir Shaivism. So I will go now to Kashmir Shaivism. Kashmir Shaivism is not negative. Kashmir Shaivism is totally affirmative. As you know, both the non-dual schools say Jiva and Ishvara are one, that I have told you. Now, what about Jagat? Kashmir Shaivism says Jagat is also Shiva. It is a Shiva consciousness all over. Shiva consciousness is in subject, object, in the seer and the seen, in the observer and the observed, in the process of observing, in the process of perceiving, everywhere Shiva. So Shiva consciousness is in Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. This is the beauty. So it is self-affirmative. It is saying that you accept everything because it comes from tantric schools. Tantra basically says acceptance of everything. They don't negate anything. Everything is Shiva Tattva. Everything is Shiva. So once you have that kind of an understanding, you will be able to use every opportunity as a vessel. Every opportunity. You do not create a duality inside. No, this is not Brahman, this is not this is not this. You start accepting everything. When you accept everything, those becomes the vessels. The same thing becomes the vessels of attaining Shiva consciousness. So they say body, mind, intellect, everything you use to get at Shiva. So their journey is different. But they also understand and say Shiva is a non-dual one consciousness. But let me give some background of how this Kashmir Shaivism came, so that we go more deeply into what is Shiva consciousness. It started with Agamas. Agamas had Shiva Sutras, and Shiva Sutras were revealed to Vasugupta in Kashmir on rocks. So from there, he had two disciples, Vasugupta. He had Kalatha and Somananda. Kalatha, this is all around 9th century. Kalatha wrote a book called Spandakarika. And what is this Spandakarika? I will explain. Spanda is basically vibration energy. Vibration energy of Shiva and Shakti, that is Jiva and Jagat. When Shiva and Shakti consciousness becomes one and separate, there is the only connection is Spanda. Imagine in our physics sense, it's like a black hole which is stagnant, which is Shiva consciousness, unchangeable, unchanging, indestructible Brahman, just like Advaita. That is Shiva consciousness. But the Shiva consciousness through Spanda gives a world of complexity of a consciousness which he is aware of, which is inside him. That is called Shakti. So Shiva and Shakti is what is connected with Spanda. So he started first a book called Spandakarika. Then came Somananda, who said Pratya Abhigna. Pratya Abhigna. Pratya is Abhigna is recognition. So they say what happens when you realize you actually re-recognize. Re-recognize what? Oh, re-recognize, oh, I have always been Shiva. I have always been a supreme consciousness. I have always been Brahman, if you want to say like that. Re-recognition is called Pratyabhigna. So what is this re-recognition? Re-recognition has two things, memory and recognition. For example, you met a 30-year-old classmate. When you see his face, you are not able to see who he is. But then the memory and recognition comes and says, oh, Srinivas, I know you for so many years. I suddenly had forgotten. So you re-recognize. Same way, you re-recognize Shiva consciousness. You have been Shiva consciousness all the time. You now know that you are Shiva's consciousness. This is what is Pratyabhigna. So they, Kalata and Somananda, wrote this Spandakarika and Pratyabhigna. Now comes Abhinava Gupta, whom I consider as the Kashmir Shaivism's guru, and whom I revere as a master of, beyond any imagination. That's Abhinava Gupta. Abhinava Gupta came in 950 AD, and he was an expert in darshanas, all tantra schools. And then he was actually Jainism and Buddhism he had studied. He had studied Vedanta. He had studied all the Vedas. He was an expert in Sangeeta and Natya Shastra. He knew Jainism and Buddhism. So he was like, an overall polymath. And he actually got his first initiation in a Kaula school. So what he did what is called a Trika system. Kashmir Shaivism is a name that has come because all these people lived in Kashmir. But actually, the system is called Trika system. Trika is three: Ishvara, Jagat, Nara, Ichcha Shakti, Gnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. So these are the energies, and the Ishvara, Jagat, Nara being the relationship. This was the Trika system. And in the Trika system, he said that there are 4 subsystems. So let us understand what are they. The first one is called Krama system. In Krama system, the body is important. So yoga, Hatha yoga started in Krama system. Along with that, they started rituals and chanting, which is the kind of, a level in which the body operates. So most of the practices were related to and simply restricted to, body methods, Hatha yoga, asanas, chanting and stuff like that. Then came Kaula school. This is a very important school. Kaula school came with Kundalini. So whole of Tantra came here because Abhinava Gupta had written a book called Tantra Loka, and then there was a kind of like Gita of Upanishads. There was a Tantra Sara which was written later. So in Kaula school is the main school in which Abhinava Gupta got actually initiated, and I would say got his own enlightenment kind of a thing. This system is purely Kundalini, which is based on Kundalini, mantra, and meditation, and it is initiated by a guru, and it has got a lot of esoteric practices. And these esoteric practices, some of them may not be acceptable. So there was a lot of aggressive methods earlier, 5Ms and all that. This aggressive Kali Puja was actually, was taken away by Shankaracharya, and in Samayachara method, he started doing that in a much milder way. And also, as you can see, Shankaracharya Shaktipita is full of Sri Vidya, and Sri Vidya has mantras which are Bija mantra groups. I'm kind of a practitioner of Sri Vidya. So it is actually coming from Kaula school, but I would not say Kaula completely because Shankaracharya modified it. So let's not talk about it as a separate school. But it is very strange that it is an Advaita school. So it is very interesting that, this particular thing happened. So this mantra and meditation and Kundalini systems of raising the chakras and all that is in Kaula school. Actually, the Kaula school has some tantric practices, esoteric. I would not like to talk about too much about it, but that was also there. It's like the cosmic union of Shiva and Shakti is the pulsating creation of the universe is one kind of method. So there are certain tantric practices along with that, which is actually done as a prayer, which is done as serving to Shiva. And every Tantra school, whatever they do, is actually an acceptance of the body, mind, and everything, and also as an offering to Shiva. So they do not move away from Shiva. Shiva is always on their lips in the consciousness. So these esoteric practices are also to be considered as a part of that. Next is Spanda. So Spanda school, this is the subsystem created by Abhinava Gupta. So I'm not digressing. Krama system, Kaula system, Spanda system, and Pratyabhigna system. These were the subsystems which was created by Abhinava Gupta, and he gave the shape to Kashmir Shaivism. So if you look at Kaula school going to Spanda this is completely contemplation and meditative. So in Spanda, along with tantric practices, you move near to understanding the vibration, the pulsation energy, which is almost the physics is saying that all this is vibration, all this is energy. And let us say coming from a non-active black hole, which is Shiva consciousness. So that is the starting point. Then came Pratyabhijna, which I have already told you. Abhinavagupta said that re-recognition of universal self of Shiva and memory plus recognition, realization is the recognition of being you are universal consciousness. Ultimately, if you realize you are universal consciousness, the game is over because then you are not there. See, both subject and object cannot remain when observer becomes observed. That is what JK said. The same thing is going. And in fact, there is a lot of work which Osho has done on this, and they are extraordinarily brilliant. It is also related to Tantra. But what JK and what Osho have done have some kind of bearing on whatever I am talking. So this is, and Shankaracharya's reference I have given through Sri Vidya. And it is not directly, I would not relate it to directly to Kashmir Shaivism. It's a pure non-dual school of Shankaracharya. But there is this element, if you see Lalita Srama and Saundarya Lahari, you will see the reference to the chakras and the kundalini. And Sri Vidya is, of course, more into mantras of Shakti. Okay. Now, what is this connection we are talking about? Shiva and Shakti, or one consciousness and the consciousness of manifestation. You see multiplicity in the world. You say it is one consciousness. How it has become non-dual then? How are you saying still Kashmir Shaivism non-dual? So there comes the explanation. One Shiva actually creates the other consciousness about which he is conscious. Shiva is conscious of the consciousness he creates, and that power is called Shakti, where multiplicity comes in. So there is a Kashmir Shaivism explanation to this called Prakasha and Vimarsha. Prakasha is light of consciousness, unchanging, self-existing Shiva's consciousness. Then he makes a reflective consciousness of Shiva consciousness, and in this reflective consciousness, andre ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಜ್ಞೆ ಇದೆ, ಶಿವನ್ ಒಂದೇ ಪ್ರಜ್ಞೆ ಇರೋದು. ಆ ಪ್ರಜ್ಞೆನಲ್ಲಿ he contemplates and becomes conscious of the content and creates a reflective consciousness in which the multiplicity of the world lives as Shakti, and it is dynamic and multiple and Astitva. So he is actually creating that through Spanda. So this Spanda and understanding of these two consciousness as a reflection is very important. So it's the same consciousness, Shiva, undoing, unchanging, and then you have Nirguna also in Shiva, which is static consciousness, but the reflect consciousness, which is pulsation of multiplicity. Now let us go to Shakti. What is the consciousness in what is meant by consciousness in Kashmir Shaivism, and what is this reflective consciousness? Let me explain a little more. Shiva consciousness says all that is in consciousness, everything takes place in consciousness. Andre ellanu consciousness alli nadiyodu. Consciousness is the total one consciousness, and consciousness in which everything takes place and everything is ease. Everything is ease. If you read Aparoksha Anubhuti of our great Shankaracharya, finally his praise, Aham Brahmasmi is the first declaration. Then you drop Aham, then you drop Brahmas, and only Asminas. Asminas is what isness we are talking about. It is a simple one consciousness that is there, which is ease, and in which everything happens. So consciousness is nothing but being and existence itself. Awareness is identical to yourself. So the being in consciousness, whatever individually, what I am myself, awareness, that awareness is the same awareness which Shiva has. So basically you are Shiva. That's what's happening. So now how do you explain this Shiva and Shakti concepts? I will tell you. There is what is called a Pratibimbavada in Kashmir Shaivism. What is this Pratibimbavada? It says Shiva's consciousness is reflected in a mirror. And what is the mirror? Mirror is also consciousness created by this Spanda. And in that you will have Pratyabhijna later. But when you see the manifestation of the world, you see in that mirror actually again limited consciousness of the world playing in that mirror, Shiva sees that. So Shiva has a consciousness. Shiva reflects into a mirror of consciousness, Pratibimba, and that Pratibimba is a content and a consciousness of Shiva himself. And what is reflected is not an outer object. It is an object of the universe which is reflected inside the mirror as consciousness again. So the complete affirmation of Jiva Jagatishvara is made in Kashmir Shaivism. Now, what has happened is the spirituality of non-dualism and the beauty of what is actual, there are a lot of tantric schools. We are not going into that. We are only getting that part of the tantra which supports this spirituality to do these practices in order to reach, oneness with Shiva. That is how it is. I hope I have made myself clear on that. So now we come to one second, please. Yeah. Now, so that is how we have done. Now, why does Shiva do all this? So Shiva does all this because there is a concept called Swatantra. Shiva has his own free will to create and play, and that creation is in this mirror in which consciousness is in the multiple objects. Multiple objects are also conscious, like you and me are also consciousness in that mirror playing. That is, limited consciousness. It is not infinite consciousness. The infinite consciousness is Vishwaprajna. The individual consciousness we are playing, but that consciousness is also part of Shiva. This is, all philosophical schools agree to that. So the consciousness of Shiva, which is there, and the supreme consciousness, which is the Vishwaprajna, both are being same, is reflected in a mirror of consciousness of Shiva himself, which is called Shakti, so that the dynamism and all come. So Shakti is the gateway. Shakti is the method. Even if you see Sri Vidya, all the things, through Shakti we enter into Shiva consciousness. So Shiva is like dormant. Shiva is like lying there and, non-doing, unchanging. And through Shakti, which we use affirmatively, positively, everything that is available in Astitva, in order to reach Shiva consciousness. That is the significant difference between non-dual school of Advaita and non-dual school of Kashmir Shaivism. That means one is negating the Jagat as calling it Mithya, and here they are calling it is real and calling it also Shakti, and they are saying it is nothing but Shiva consciousness. So there is one consciousness, therefore both are non-dual. This is how it comes. So therefore, to realize Shiva consciousness, everything is open to us, everything is clear to us, everything is available to us. So one thing that happens is you do not have to divide yourself into this is not my body and then body cries. You don't have to do that, because in this system, you are affirmative about body, mind, intellect, everything. But at the same time, you have to use them as vessels to do that. And there are upayas to do that. Now, that is what I was searching. Anyway, I remember, so I will tell you. The Kashmir Shaivism is not a purely philosophical stuff. Kashmir Shaivism also gives upayas to achieve what all I have talked about. First upaya is called Anma Upaya. Anma Upaya is nothing but related to body. In the body, it tells that you can use your body and do chanting and what I told you in Krama school, chanting, and you can do a Hatha Yoga and you can do some breath control, you can do meditation, and you can reach with Anma Upaya only individual self. Then there is Shambhava Upaya and Shakti Upaya. Shambhavi is Shakti. So that will be again Kundalini, Sri Vidya, and chanting of mantras given by a guru. Tantra schools are all in Shambhavi Vidya methods. Then it says Shambhopaya. Shambhopaya is Upaya of Shiva. Shiva in his 112 sutras to Parvati has given in Vijnana Bhairava Tantra what exactly you should do to achieve these things, techniques. Very, 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 very interesting. What he says, first take the breathing exercise. He says, when you inhale, you stop. There is no breath for a small second. That is being with Supreme Consciousness. Then you exhale. When you exhale, You inhale and you exhale. Watch the turning points of both inhale and exhale. Those turning points are your realization points. These are the techniques. Or he will say stop technique. You are doing something, you become a statue and observe. Third, he says there are 112, so I'm telling you only three. The third one he says is that you are going from a dream state to the sleep state. When you move from dream state to the sleep state, can you know when that shift is happening? If you are able to know when that shift is happening from waking state to sleep state, forget dream. From waking state to dream state, waking state to sleep state when you are going, there is a point in which the sleep comes. What is that point at which the sleep comes? Are you aware? No. You don't know when you went to sleep. You went on the bed, you rolled on the bed, you didn't get sleep, but you don't know when you got the sleep. Can you be aware when you got the sleep? That point is the turning point. This is how Vijnana Bhairava Tantra explains. So if you are able to go from waking state to sleep state with awareness, you will be okay. Same thing is says for dream. You start attaching in every dream where you are in the dream. Make it as a practice. After some years, you may be able to see yourself in the dream, and you know you are moving in the dream. So these are techniques of awareness, of using body, mind, dream, everything in order to reach consciousness. This is called Shambhavopaya, which is called Vijnana Bhairava Tantra 112. Osho has written 960 pages on this. And each technique is wonderful to different people. I always believe, like we have different blood groups, and one blood group is different to the other blood group. In spiritual chemistry also, we have different spiritual chemistry groups. Some of us will get attracted to mantra, some of them will attracted to X guru, Y guru, and some of us will get attracted to something to do with, Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. So out of 112, only 4 will appeal to you. Try it out, and what appeals to you and what works with your body chemistry and spiritual chemistry, accept it and do. Because in Tantra, you can do everything, and what is accepted, you can practice. So there is no negation. So this is how Kashmir Shaivism has worked. So I would end my talk. I don't know what is the time. Yeah, I think I'm okay. So I would end my talk by saying, so hum, Shiva I am. Then I say hum sa, hum aham sa Shiva. I am Shiva. Then I say Shivoham, Shivoham, Shivoham. Thank you.